Hi, I'm Ava and I'm a student in Leeds. Today I'm going to share with you my journey into space and ask you a couple of questions along the way. I'd also love your help at the end of the presentation. Actually, it's not my own journey into space, but one for my project, Perfect Sense, and the data that it collects to help people all over. 18 months ago, I really couldn't have imagined saying any of these things, so it's really exciting that I was asked to take part today. Thank you. The Empowering Women with Tech events have taught me a few things along the way. So I hope I could really explain how people from this group and all over have helped me and Perfect Sense along the way. Let me tell you a bit about my project. But first of all, I want you to think about your own journeys that you've taken yourself recently. It could be walking with your family to school, running before or after work, or walking or cycling around the city or in the countryside. How did you decide on the route that you took? Was it based on the shortest distance, time it takes to get there, or did some of you choose your path to make it the healthiest route possible? These were the questions that first led me to thinking about using science, technology, and data to make healthier choices. Perfect Sense is a pin badge with a really small sensor inside that collects information and data about air quality around us. It's wearable tech you can wear on your clothes, a jumper or top, your school blazer or coat, or even on a bag, and it'll let you know how fresh or polluted the air is as you walk or travel around each day. There's lots of information and action about the climate emergency, but quite often young people miss out on their voice being heard or the technology isn't right for us. I wanted to work on this project to help more people to understand about air quality and make sure that we can all have the healthiest start as we walk to school each day. Your voice is important in this. Would you like to make healthier choices yourself? I've been able to work with some amazing people, and that's helped me to shape the project to what it is today. Mixing together an idea and a first prototype with graphene and satellite networks has blown my mind at times. There are 3 parts to my journey, and I'll take you through each of these today, which is basically how it started in Leeds, with me walking to school, and it's finishing up thinking about space-based measurements, all made possible by working with the UK Space Agency. I also want to share with you how different people have helped me along the way. It's really important. I had a fun start to lockdown. On the day that we were sent home from school, I got an email from the Space Agency to say that Perfect Sense and I were the individual winner of the SatelLife competition. I screamed when I read the email. I don't get many emails, especially ones like that. That was in March, and from that moment on, the Space Agency team have helped me to prepare for the July launch under the embargo and to get my story together to share with others. Throughout all of this, I've realised that explaining and communicating my ideas is really important, and I'll try to share some more examples as we move through the slides. My journey starts in Leeds, where I live. I realised that my friends and I weren't able to make healthier choices on our way to school using air quality like data scientists do. We could download an app or buy a device to measure pollution, but it wouldn't necessarily be the air around us at that moment, our own walk to school. If I could build something myself, then I'd be able to learn something about science, data, and programming along the way. So to also give friends the same chances to learn about how data can help them to make healthier decisions based on their own data sets. You can make decisions about changing your route or where you stand on the pavement from your own data, and that you can breathe the air and that you can improve the air that you're breathing. Have you ever wondered if a side road is healthier than a main road? What happens if you step back from the curbside while you wait for the pedestrian crossing to tell you to go? Is one side of the road healthier to walk on than another? Have you ever worked it out by collecting your own data, making changes to your route, and knowing that you can make the right decision? That would make perfect sense. That was my starting point and an invite to the Business Science Conference in Leeds last year, through their innovation competition for schools, was a huge moment for me. To get there, I had to share my project idea, which at that point was already a thing, but very different to the pin badge it is today. My English and textiles teachers were really helpful and supported me after school to help me get the messaging and design right for my project. I wanted to create a textiles project that was more sustainable by upcycling jeans and other fabrics to create a vintage fashion piece. And there is probably the right place to take a step back and think about the people who have inspired and helped me with the STEM side of things. My teachers have always been brilliant at giving me opportunities to get hands-on with science and tech, to make it relatable and enjoyable. Even in primary school, hobby half days were great because we did lots of STEM projects with our class teachers. Some people think that working in tech or as a scientist means being on your own, a geek in isolation, uninteresting or hidden away from the rest of the world. I think of it about being people. Here's a photograph from a few years ago that was used as a banner by Code Club Yorkshire. It's me giggling on the left, by the way. So who says that programming is dull? I think of it about working together to get something done. For me, at the moment, it's to get the healthiest start to the day. I think some of you know Linda Broughton. She was our Code Club volunteer, and this is what an after-school club looked like. So when she worked with our teachers, we had such a laugh, and that's where I started to develop my programming skills beyond the classroom. I absolutely loved it. Back to the Business Science Conference. Then, and in this picture, you can see that I had to design a poster to talk about my project and progress so far. Here I am talking to one of the conference attendees about Perfect Sense. I remember he was really interesting to talk to, and although he asked me some really challenging questions, he was really enthusiastic about it. This is James, and he works at Graphene Manchester. On that day, I found out that he was a judge, and as a highly commended entry, he said that he'd support me to develop the project. On that day, we decided to work together and with his colleagues to design a pin badge. Graphene makes it possible to shrink down the size of the first prototype, which was wearable, but still really bulky by the time you got board, sensors, and power pack all together. If you look closely at the slide, you can see me holding the project. Graphene's work is really worth checking out if you haven't come across it yet. It's amazing in so many ways and is capable of changing people's lives, their health, as well as many other different applications. A couple of examples that I found really exciting, in absolutely no particular order, are in racing cars and motorsport, detecting diseases, including cancers, and graphene in batteries, and even graphene sensors. It's super thin, super strong, and amazing for making things much smaller. It's basically a single layer of graphite that looks like a honeycomb. What's really interesting is that you have all probably, at some point, made graphene yourselves. If you've drawn or written something on a piece of paper with a pencil. Those little pencil shavings that come off as you draw might actually have been a single sheet of graphene. The day I met James was another moment when I saw how science and tech is all around us, hidden in spaces when we move around. You can't see from this photo of us, but he was wearing the most amazing trainers. Not only did they look really cool, they had graphene in the soles, so they were designed to be more durable and last longer. How cool is that? Since then, I've been working with a team of nano-scientists to make Perfect Sense the best project it can be, and that's been brilliant. Another fascinating fact I found out afterwards was exactly what James's job was. He's the chief executive of Graphene at Manchester. How cool is that? Part 2 of my journey is all about me travelling to Manchester to meet the team at Graphene and designing a stand to share at the Youth Industrial Strategy Finals held at the Big Bang Science Fair at the NEC in Birmingham. Well, until the pandemic changed things ever so slightly. Well, completely, really. Working with the Graphene team has been really amazing with our shared belief in the project. It was great to visit the Innovation Centre, take a tour of the building and find out more about how and what people work on there, and start to plan out how we could make a pin badge, what the design could look like and how it would be powered. At this point, my form teacher's help has been making a really big difference too. As a science teacher, he knows about graphene and can explain what I'm doing to my head of year to get me a day off school. He's also learning to program himself in Python, so although he didn't give me the answers to what I was working on with the Manchester team, he was able to talk me through the errors and ask me questions to help me to work it out myself. I think this photo just about sums up how we all work together. Liam and Craig were brilliant to, first of all, take my ideas and original design, and then explain to me what was possible with graphene before we talked everything through. It was a chance to learn about science and nanotechnology and the real world, and they also helped me to see what I'd been learning at school in chemistry and how that relates to graphene. Here they are explaining to me about bonds and GCSE chemistry. Sometimes they get my age wrong, even this summer. I think it's because I ditch my school uniform whenever I can, and to be fair, I'm quite tall. What they showed me then is coming in useful now as I start my GCSE courses this term though. If you look closely at the photo, you'll be able to make out the honeycomb structure. See, you'll be able to spot it now and perhaps think about the wonders of graphene each time you tidy away after sketching with a pencil. Look what's possible when you sit down as a team and talk about your ideas and what you want to achieve. Something fashionable and well designed. Something that teenagers can and will wear, and adults of course too. Something that can grow, expand, build as a collection. Something that's exciting, innovative, super exciting, that's made with graphene. Something that does what you want it to do, help us in our health. The designs here are examples of what's available at the moment for pin badges. The 10 at the top left is my new, what I like to call my COVID badge for school. It helps our teachers to know what year we're in from a distance in the corridors. I was invited to the Big Bang Science Fair as a finalist for the Youth Industrial Strategy competition. A couple of days before I was supposed to travel, COVID changed the plans and the finals were delayed and switched to online. I learnt so much having to turn everything into a virtual display and record my stand for final judging. Judges were people from industry and STEM jobs, and they were able to give feedback as ideas and hints to improve my project before the finals. That's when I asked a friend, who's a digital artist and now 14 like me, to help me come up with an image to show the pin badge, and I used that on the cover of a couple of concept design books that I created for the stand. It's amazing what you can do with a Groupon voucher for a photo book. If you look carefully, you can see me on the table. You can see me with them on the table in the middle photo here. And they've been really helpful to explain to people what the project is all about. Images of how the first prototype has evolved, how I've been working, and data analysis from collecting information through the testing stages. Virtual judging from uploaded video was an experience in itself and a great boost for my confidence in speaking in front of a camera, as well as my writing skills to share the main aims of my project. Did anyone hear Viv Groskop speak last year at the event and do as she said? It's been really helpful. Breathing through your feet. It's helped me to get some of these different really helped me to get through some of these different stages and believe I could actually do it. When I look back at any of these photos, I can see me breathing through my feet. I don't know if you can notice. And so to the final leg, or perhaps the beginning of the next stage, leads to space. Working with the UK Space Agency has made me realise that there's so much more to the space industry than being an astronaut. Although, that would be amazing, and I can't wait to hear Helen Sharman talk later. I can take my interest in physical and environmental geography and textiles to open up so many different ideas for the future, and that's really exciting for me. Got a chance now to work with the Space Agency and their advisors to develop my project even more. Imagine Perfect Sense helping us all to connect to the environment wherever we are in the world using satellites. I've always had a location GPS sensor in the project, as well as the air quality sensor, but I've always had problems with the Wi-Fi connections and synchronizing data when it drops out if I'm walking. It can happen in the city, not just being in the countryside for that reception or out at sea. The SatelLife competition is all about using space-based technology with data, and it was seeing Tim Peake talking about it that really made me think how satellites could really help the Perfect Sense pin badge. It could solve all my problems. Planning with the Space Agency and making a video for launch day all helped to prepare for the questions and interviews over a week in July. For 2 days definitely, I stood up and breathed through my feet. The interviews were fun. I got to speak with Anna Foster a couple of times on Radio 5 and other stations, including Leeds and LBC. Each time I learned something new from the whole experience. Graham, one of Zoe Ball's producers, came up with really great suggestions for the project that I'm not going to reveal just yet. She had another producer who helped me to be more confident for the interview too. Her advice was to think of Zoe as the really nice and chatty lady that you meet at the bus stop. It's really great advice. And at the end of all that, the Space Agency sent me another one of their emails. This time with the listening figures for those who had heard about my project. 5.1 million listeners heard me giggling and talking about science, technology, and a pin badge. I still really can't believe it all. So that's where I'm up to. This month, I'll be meeting with the Dragons at the UK Space Agency in Harwell, who will be guiding and supporting me to move forward again. Can't wait for the next part of the journey to start. I'm going to ask you for my help in a minute. I'm going to finish now with a few thoughts about what I've learned. I've learned that science and tech is all around us, can seem invisible because it's hidden as we move around. And support can sometimes be hidden at first, and it comes from lots of different places for me, in and out of school. Remember, it was my textiles and English teachers who first gave up time to help me launch Perfect Sense. And thank you for those of you here that have already welcomed me into this group and helped me over the last 18 months. It means a lot. Enjoy what you do and do what you enjoy. And that's what you'll be working on. And that's when you know you'll be working on something that's perfect for you. Above all else, hold your head up high and breathe through your feet. That'll get you through most things. Thank you so much for listening. If you have any questions, it would be really great to hear from you through the project's Twitter account. I wonder if you could help me too. I'd love to hear your thoughts and feedback about Perfect Sense. They'd be really useful for when I meet the Dragons that the UK Space Agency are bringing together later this month near Oxford. They'll be helping me to move forward and into the next stages of development. Can you help with your own thoughts about a range of pin badges to sense the environment? They're collectible, aren't they? It's me getting ready for the what's next question. What are your thoughts on nanoscience and pin badge technology that help people work out their healthiest route to work or school? Is there any mileage in that as a project idea? You see what I did there? And how can satellite data systems change life on Earth? How do you think it can change the world? If that's interesting and relevant to you, I'd love to hear your thoughts. Thank you.